Your story matters. Even the parts you try to hide, even the chapters you wish never existed, even the moments that left you feeling broken, lost, or unseen, there is something powerful about your journey, something deeply meaningful about everything you have experienced, because none of it is wasted. Every pain, every struggle, every tear carries a lesson, a shaping force, a quiet purpose that is working within you. Even when you cannot yet understand it, it is easy to look at your pain and think it is meaningless, to believe it only exists to hurt you, to slow you down, or to hold you back. But pain has a strange way of revealing truths that comfort never could. It strips away illusions. It forces you to face yourself, and it pushes you to grow in ways you never imagined. The moments that tested you the most are often the same moments that built your strength, your resilience, and your depth. Your story is not defined by the worst thing that ever happened to you, but by the way you rise after it. The way you continue, the way you keep going when everything inside you wants to stop. That is where your power lies. There is meaning in that persistence. There is purpose in your ability to endure. Sometimes the pain you go through is not just for you. It prepares you to understand others, to connect on a deeper level, to offer compassion in a world that often lacks it. It gives you a voice that can reach someone who feels exactly the way you once did. It turns your wounds into wisdom, your struggles into strength, and your experiences into something that can inspire, guide, and uplift others. You may not see it now, and that is okay. Purpose is not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it is quiet, unfolding slowly, revealing itself piece by piece as you continue to move forward. What feels like a setback today may become the very foundation of your growth tomorrow. What feels like an ending may actually be a beginning in disguise. Do not rush to erase your past or pretend it did not shape you. Embrace it, understand it, learn from it. Your story, in all its imperfections, is uniquely yours, and there is strength in owning it fully. The scars you carry are not signs of weakness. They are proof that you survived, that you endured, that you are still here despite everything that tried to break you. There is something incredibly powerful about someone who has faced darkness and still chooses to seek light. That choice, that courage, that willingness to keep believing, that is where your purpose begins to take form. It is not about having a perfect story. It is about having a real one that reflects growth, transformation, and truth. Your pain is not the end of your story. It is a part of it, a chapter that contributes to who you are becoming. It may have slowed you down, but it also deepened you. It may have hurt you, but it also strengthened you. It may have confused you, but it also taught you. And one day, you will look back and see that nothing you went through was in vain. Every moment had meaning. Every struggle had a purpose, and every step, no matter how difficult, was leading you somewhere greater than you could have imagined. What you believe becomes your reality, not in some magical or instant way, but through the quiet, consistent influence your beliefs have over your thoughts, your decisions, and your actions. The way you see yourself and the world around you shapes how you respond to everything that happens in your life. It determines whether you move forward with confidence or hold yourself back with doubt. If deep down you believe that you are not capable, not worthy, or not good enough, that belief will begin to show up in your behavior. You will hesitate when opportunities appear. You will question your own abilities, and you will often choose safety over growth. Even when chances come your way, you may unconsciously avoid them because your mind is trying to stay aligned with what it already believes to be true. On the other hand, is that when you start to believe that you are capable, that you can learn, grow, and overcome challenges, something shifts within you. You begin to take risks, you start showing up differently, and you become more open to possibilities. It is not that fear disappears, but your belief becomes stronger than your fear, and that changes everything. Your mind is constantly collecting evidence to support you already believe. If you believe the world is full of limitations, you will notice every obstacle and every failure. But if you believe there are opportunities, you will start to see doors where others only see walls. The reality you experience is filtered through the lens of your beliefs. This is why two people can go through the same situation and come out with completely different outcomes. One sees failure and gives up, while the other sees a lesson and keeps going. The difference is not always in the circumstances, but in the belief system they carry within them. It is important to understand that beliefs are not fixed. They are learned. They are shaped by your experiences, your environment, and the messages you have repeated to yourself over time. And because they are learned, they can also be changed. You have the ability to question the beliefs that limit you and replace them with ones that empower you. This does not happen overnight. Changing what you believe requires awareness, patience, and consistent effort. It means catching yourself when negative thoughts arise and choosing not to accept them as truth. It means reminding yourself again and again that you are capable of more than you once believed. Your actions begin to follow your beliefs. When you believe in your ability to succeed, you are more likely to take action, to stay committed, and to push through challenges. And those actions create results which then reinforce your new belief. It becomes a cycle, but this time it is a cycle that works in your favor. You do not need to have everything figured out to start changing your reality. You only need to begin by shifting what you believe is possible for you. Even a small change in belief can create a ripple effect that transforms the direction of your life. The life you experience is not just a result of what happens to you. It is deeply connected to what you believe about yourself, about others, and about what is possible. When you change those beliefs, you begin to change the way you see the world, the way you show up in it, and ultimately the reality you create for yourself. It all begins within. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of it, woven into the process in a way that cannot be separated from growth, progress, or achievement. Yet, many people are taught to fear failure, to avoid it at all costs, as if it is something that defines their worth or determines their future. This misunderstanding holds people back more than failure ever could, because it creates hesitation, doubt, and a reluctance to even try. The truth is, every meaningful success is built on a series of failures, mistakes, and lessons learned along the way. No one reaches their goals without facing obstacles, setbacks, and moments where things do not go as planned. These moments are not signs that you should stop. They are signs that you are in the process of learning, adjusting, and moving closer to something greater. Failure teaches in ways that success never can. When things go right, you may feel confident, but you rarely question why. When things go wrong, you are forced to reflect, to analyze, and to understand what needs to change. It sharpens your awareness, strengthens your resilience, and deepens your understanding of what it takes to move forward. Every failure carries information. It shows you what does not work. It highlights weaknesses that need attention, and it pushes you to find better solutions. Without failure, there would be no growth, because there would be no reason to improve. It is through trial and error that you develop the skills, knowledge, and mindset required for success. One of the biggest mistakes people make is attaching their identity to their failures. They begin to think, I failed, so I am a failure. But there is a difference between experiencing failure and becoming defined by it. Failure is an event, not a person. It is something that happens, not something you are. The moment you separate your identity from your outcomes, you free yourself to keep trying without fear of judgment, both from others and from yourself. It is also important to understand that failure often redirects you. Sometimes you thought you wanted or needed is not actually aligned with who you are becoming. A setback can be a form of guidance, pushing you toward a different path, a better opportunity. or a more meaningful direction. What feels like a loss in the moment can later reveal itself as a necessary turning point. Resilience is built through failure. Each time you fall and choose to get back up, you strengthen your ability to handle challenges. You begin to trust yourself more, not because everything is easy, but because you know you can endure difficulty and continue moving forward. That inner strength becomes one of your greatest assets. Success is not a straight line. It is a path filled with ups and downs, progress and setbacks, moments of clarity and moments of confusion. Those who succeed are not the ones who never fail, but the ones who refuse to stop. They understand that failure is not a signal to quit, but a step in the process, a part of the journey that must be embraced rather than avoided. When you change your perspective on failure, everything shifts. Instead of fearing it, you begin to see it as a teacher. Instead of avoiding risks, you start taking chances. Instead of giving up when things get hard, you push through with a deeper understanding that every step, even the difficult ones, is moving you forward. Failure is not the end of your story. It is part of how your story is written. It adds depth, meaning, and strength to your journey. And when you finally reach your goals, it is not just the success that matters, but everything you learned, everything you overcame, and everything you became along the way. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow, by what you tolerate, and by what you silently accept without question. Every interaction you have with others is shaped in part by the boundaries you set and the standards you choose to uphold. Whether you realize it or not, you are constantly showing people what is acceptable in your presence. And over time, those patterns become the way they respond to you. When you allow disrespect, even in small ways, it sends a message that it is okay to cross your limits. It may not happen all at once, and it may not be intentional, but people tend to repeat behaviors that are not challenged. If you ignore hurtful words, dismiss uncomfortable situations, or stay silent when something does not feel right, you may think you are keeping peace, but in reality, you are slowly lowering the standard of how you are treated. This does not mean you should react harshly or create conflict in every situation, but it does mean you need to be aware of your own value. Respect begins with how you see yourself. If you do not recognize your worth, it becomes difficult to expect others to do so. People often respond to the energy and confidence you carry, and when you believe you deserve to be treated with kindness and consideration, you begin to communicate that through your words, your actions, and your boundaries. Boundaries aren't about controlling others. They are about protecting yourself. They define what you are comfortable with and what you are not willing to accept. Setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you are used to putting others before yourself, but it is an essential part of building healthy relationships. When you clearly express what is acceptable and what is not, you create space for mutual respect. It is important to understand that people are not mind readers. They cannot always know when something bothers you unless you communicate it. Silence can be misunderstood as agreement, and over time, it reinforces behavior that may continue to hurt you. Speaking up does not make you difficult, it makes you honest. It allows others the opportunity to understand you better and adjust their behavior accordingly. At the same time, you must be consistent. Setting a boundary once is not always enough. It is the consistency in your actions that truly teaches others how to treat you. If you say something is not okay, but continue to accept it, the message becomes unclear. People learn from what you do more than what you say. When your actions align with your words, your standards become clear and firm. There will be moments when people do not respect your boundaries, and that is when your response matters most. You may need to distance yourself, to step away, or to reevaluate certain relationships. Not everyone will meet you at the level you deserve, and that is a difficult but important truth to accept. Choosing yourself in those moments is not selfish, it is necessary. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, understanding, and care. When you value yourself, you naturally attract people who value you as well, and those who do not will either adjust or fade away. This process may feel uncomfortable, but it ultimately leads to stronger, more genuine connections. You are not responsible for how others behave, but you are responsible for what you allow to continue in your life. By choosing what you accept and what you reject, you shape the way others interact with you. It is a quiet form of teaching, one that happens through your standards, your boundaries, and your self-respect. In the end, the way people treat you is often a reflection of what you have shown them is acceptable. When you raise your standards, when you honor your worth, and when you refuse to settle for less than you deserve, you begin to change not only your relationships, but the way you experience yourself. The life you want begins the moment you decide you are worthy of it, not when circumstances magically change, not when everything feels perfect, and not when someone else finally recognizes your value, but in the quiet, powerful decision you make within yourself. That decision shifts everything because it changes how you see your place in the world and what you believe you deserve from it. For a long time, many people wait. They wait for validation, for approval, for the right opportunity, for the right timing, or for someone to tell them that they are ready. But the truth is that moment rarely comes from the outside. It begins internally with a belief that you are enough as you are and that you are deserving of the life you dream about, even if you have not achieved it yet. When you do not feel worthy, you tend to settle. You accept less than what you truly desire. You stay in situations that do not fulfill you. And you hold yourself back from pursuing bigger goals, not because you lack ability, but because deep down you question whether you deserve more. That doubt becomes a silent barrier, shaping your choices and limiting your potential. The moment you decide you are worthy, something begins to shift. You start to raise your standards, not out of arrogance, but out of self-respect. You begin to make decisions that align with your growth, your happiness, and your well-being. You stop chasing things that drain you and start focusing on what truly matters. This decision does not mean fear disappears. You may still feel uncertain. You may still doubt yourself at times, and you may still face challenges. But there is a difference now. Instead of letting those feelings stop you, you move forward despite them because you believe you are worth the effort, the risk, and the possibility of something better. Worthiness is not something you earn after achieving success. It is something you recognize within yourself before success arrives. When you tie your worth to external outcomes, you create a cycle where you constantly feel like you need to prove yourself. But when you understand that your value is inherent, you begin to approach life from a place of confidence and clarity. Your actions begin to reflect this new belief. You take chances you once avoided, you speak up when you once stayed silent, and you pursue opportunities that once felt out of reach. These actions create momentum, and that momentum starts to shape a different reality for you. It is also important to understand that choosing yourself may require letting go of things that no longer align with your growth. This can include habits, environments, or even relationships that keep you in a place of doubt or limitation. Growth often requires change, and change can feel uncomfortable, but it is necessary for transformation. You are not asking for too much when you want a fulfilling life. You are not being unrealistic when you dream of something greater. Those desires exist within you for a reason. They are signals pointing you toward a path that is meant for you, but you can only begin to walk that path when you believe you are worthy of it. This belief is not about perfection. It is not about having everything figured out or never making mistakes. It is about accepting yourself as you are while still striving to grow and improve. It is about knowing that you deserve love, respect, success, and happiness simply because you exist. The life you want is not as far away as it may seem. It begins with a decision, a shift in mindset, a quiet but powerful realization that you are already enough. From that moment forward, everything you do carries a different energy, one that moves you closer to the life you have been waiting for, not because the world has changed, but because you have. In the end, everything comes back to you, your choices, your beliefs, and the way you see your own worth. Your story, with all its pain and imperfections, has meaning, and it is shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more aware. What you believe about yourself is quietly creating the life you live, guiding your actions, your decisions, and the direction you choose to take. Failure is not something to fear. It is something to understand, to learn from, and to grow through. It is part of the journey, not the end of it. Every setback carries a lesson. Every challenge carries an opportunity. And every moment of doubt carries the chance to rise again with greater strength. At the same time, the way others treat you is deeply connected to what you allow. When you begin to value yourself, to set boundaries, and to stand firm in your self-respect, you change the way the world responds to you. You stop settling for less and start creating space for what you truly deserve. And perhaps the most important truth of all is this: the life you want is not waiting somewhere in the future. It begins the moment you decide you are worthy of it. Not later, not someday, but now. That decision changes everything because it changes you. So take ownership of your story, believe in your potential, embrace failure as part of your growth, protect your worth, and choose yourself again and again. Because the moment you do, you step into a life that is no longer defined by fear or doubt, but by purpose, strength, and the courage to become everything you were meant to be.